Alright, so as I said, today we're talking about weathering erosion. So here we have weathering erosion. So I know you're probably wondering what weathering erosion is. And I suggest you keep taking notes because this might come up later on, maybe some questions may be asked, maybe they won't be asked. And maybe there may be some awards too for right questions, so be aware. Okay, so weathering. What is a weathering? Weathering is the process when rocks are dissolved, worn away, or broken down into smaller and smaller pieces. There are three types of weathering. Mechanical weathering.
Can you slow down, please? I'm trying to write.
I'm gonna stay on the slide so you can still have a chance to write it if you want.
Alright.
There are three types of weathering. Mechanical weathering, chemical weathering, and biological weathering. Now, I'm not gonna go into detail and show pictures of each one, and I suggest you pay close attention to the pictures because they may or may not show up later. Alright, next slide. First one, mechanical weathering. Mechanical weathering is the process of breaking big rocks into little ones. So as you can see, these rocks were once huger rocks, but they have broken down to little smaller ones. If you ever just thrown a rock off a cliff into the cliff, you've contributed to mechanical weathering.
Okay, thank you, teacher.
Next, chemical weathering. Chemical weathering is when you see rocks next to each other that are different colors. So often they can be each other red, but they can also be green, like in the picture here. And then you know chemical reactions have taken place. So as you can see, it's a little bit, I want to say that's gray right there. And then you can see some green going on here. There's some, I think some red back here actually too, a little bit. I don't know if you can see it.
What causes the chemical weathering? Is it like two chemicals on the rock faces?
It's when two chemicals react with one another. They cause they're called chemical reaction, exactly. So they call it chemical reaction and make something like this. The green on the rocks.
When it's weathered, it's still getting broken down.
It's still getting broken down because this is still rock. It's just broken down into different colors because of the reaction. Good question. Thank you. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Moving on to the next one. Lastly, biological weathering. Biological weathering is just when the effect of animals and plants on the landscape. So as you can see, before this plant was here, it was just a normal rock. And due to weathering, a plant has sprouted out or a tree has sprouted out, as you can see. Kind of remind me of the plant from Lion King a little bit.
Animals.
Can you tell me an example of like when they've seen biological weathering before?
Oh, have you ever seen 10,000 Years?
10,000
on
years.
the historical channel?
No, I haven't seen it before.
It's like if humans disappeared and they go through the years, like goes like 10 years, then 20, then 50, then 100, and that usually when they go for, further and further in the future, more and more of nature has taken over the cities until you can't really tell it's a city.
Okay. What's it called again? What's the name of the show called?
Like 10,000 Years Later.
Comes on the History Channel. Okay,
yeah.
I'll make sure I catch that. You can tell me an example or?
Just an animal running on the cliff, pretty much.
Okay.
Like eventual erosion.
Right, breaking down the rocks and whatnot. Okay. Now, erosion. Because there's a difference between erosion and weathering. Erosion is the process that breaks things down.
Ooh, good one.
Okay.
So
there are 4 types of erosion. Water, glacial erosion, wind, and soil. Does anybody want to take a guess at what type of erosion water erosion might be? Raining?
Yeah.
What about wind maybe?
Wind is like a hurricane comes through and just, blows through a cliff face and like the wind hits the rock so hard that the rocks get knocked off, like pieces of it chips off.
Okay.
It chips off over time.
Cool.
Until it's smaller.
Nice. Okay. So, water erosion. Water erosion occurs from the chemicals in the water and the force of the flow of water in the river. So as we know, you see these two rocks separated by this stream of water going through it, right?
Yeah.
These rocks were at one point probably a long time ago were connected at some point.
Yeah.
And due to water breaking through the rocks and coming and making its own stream, they were eventually separated, and the water was able to flow through them.
Mhm.
So moving on. Any questions?
No.
Okay. Wind erosion. Wind erosion is pretty simple. It's when light objects such as rocks and pebbles are carried by the wind and can hit landforms, eroding materials off them that are carried off in the wind.
Mhm.
So basically, if you ever seen a huge gulf flowing come through and take all rocks and pebbles, as shown here, you can see kind of like the wind coming and taking like parts of the rocks off.
Yeah.
That's why you create that pattern right there. The wind came so strong and took off parts of the rock,
Oh,
and it
okay.
caused wind erosion.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Now next, glacier erosions. Glaciers are giant bodies of ice that can pick up huge pieces of rock, some even as big as the houses. A combination of water, ice, and they pick up sediment and create a powerful eroding machine. So it's kind of like you ever played football or watched football before.
Mhm.
It's kind of like when you see a huge running back,
Mhm.
and they just take everything with them. They carry everybody with them, everybody on their back. That's what a glacier does when it comes through.
Okay.
Now, have you ever seen the movie Titanic? That may be a little before your time.
Yeah.
But the Titanic, a glacier, the Titanic ran into a glacier.
Yeah.
And the Titanic, being the biggest boat ever, still was damaged by the huge glacier.
Yeah.
And just like in this picture, you can see a glacier came through here and took off parts of this huge piece of rock right here. That's why huge gaps down here. See some like rock over here a little bit too.
Oh, yeah.
Now I think our last erosion is soil erosion. Soil erosion pays the biggest price to farmers. Flooding, wind, etc. can carry the topsoil away from farmlands and make the soil not be able to grow.
Oh.
So a lot of times when farmers really hate soil erosion
Yeah.
because it can kill their crops, and usually farming is how they make a lot of money. So when erosion happens, it really kills them. So you can see the land looks so sparse, so like nothing is there at all,
Mhm.
and it looks so empty and so like rocks are cracking, and you can see in between things like that.
Mhm.
That's the soil erosion. And that pretty much sums up our weathering erosion presentation. Thank you. Awesome.